Welcome to the Living the Fit Life podcast, episode 62. I am your host, Chad Mueller, and today I'm catching up with Michelle de Jong about how life has sort of changed with her in the past, 12 to 15 months with baby Maddi. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hi, Chad. Good. Thanks for having me. And glad we could we've been talking about this podcast for a while, so glad we could finally nail it down and chat about it.
Yes, we've talked about this for a while. I know that you've wanted to share your story. I know you've shared your story a little bit in different avenues, but we wanted to sit down and kind of dive into it a little bit more. And you also wanted to kind of raise more awareness of pre and post baby and how life is like for someone like yourself. And for anyone that doesn't know, Michelle is a pretty elite athlete, I would say.
Yeah.
A high level athlete.
Thanks, Chad. Let's say high level athlete. Yes.
Okay, high level athlete. So, I mean, I know you and I have talked about this just when we're hanging out about like female elite athletes sharing more of their story around their new arrivals, and so we thought it would be good for you to share your story.
Exactly, that's the goal. The more
Cool.
sharing, the better.
I agree. And so today, in very Michelle fashion, we're going to structure this podcast, sort of timetable it,
Okay.
sort of pre-baby, and then sort of, the first 3 months, the next 3 months.
Hey, you're
of
more
them,
than
et cetera,
welcome to just go on.
No, I like it.
I think I
it's
needed
good.
some structure to pull the info together.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good way of doing it. It gives everyone kind of context of how things are rolling. So we can, we'll just chat. Not sure exactly how long this one will be, but let's just go through it. I'm excited to hear your story. I know some of your story, but I'm excited to hear how, how things were around the fitness and the nutrition and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So give us a little bit of context before the delivery day.
Yeah, so actually, pregnancy was pretty great. I wouldn't probably say that as I was going through the last month or so, but
Looking back on
looking back overall, I had a pretty good pregnancy. My first trimester, there was nothing crazy, and then just the usual sort of pregnancy pains and that sort of stuff. But in terms of workouts, should I dive right in, Chad, or?
I think so.
Okay.
So like, I guess maybe when was the due date? When was Maddi born?
She was born January 8th, but her due date was December 30th. So
Okay, cool.
we weren't sure if she was going to be a December baby or January baby.
And so like, how active were you leading up to, like how active were you in like, let's say October, November, December, as you're getting closer?
Yeah, so closer, I wasn't, well, you set me up the stage of this elite athlete, so I feel like I live up to that. But no, I was not even close to anything sort of elite at this point. And really like the start, as soon as I was pregnant, there was a lot of things that I had a lot of pelvic pressure. I was relatively pretty big for a small frame, so there were a lot of things that kind of went relatively quickly. It was also during COVID, so we didn't quite have access to the normal fitness routine that we did. So definitely running and deep squatting or deep bending sort of, I lost that ability sort of early on. And then by the last 3 months, I would say, I was actually coaching virtual workouts sort of earlier on. So that was a good way to do some modifications, not feel too much pressure to do anything else. And then we had our outdoor workouts, which we started. That was earlier on in my pregnancy. Uh, so that was good. We weren't doing anything too crazy in terms of squatting and heavy weights. So that was kind of a nice segue. But I felt like because I was doing the virtual workouts and then the outdoor workouts, even before pregnancy, I kind of lost a little bit of that strength. So jumping into heavy squatting again or heavy barbell movements wasn't sort of something that was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So
so how did
they
you
say
go ahead?
They say that you can continue with any sort of exercise that that you're currently doing. So unfortunately, there were some things with the COVID time that I didn't keep up at the beginning of my pregnancy, so I couldn't continue them later on in my pregnancy. So it was a bit of a mishmash of, I would say, of things.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how did you approach it? Like, so you have obviously, like, you were pretty active. Sorry, before you were pregnant, you're pretty active with
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit, pretty active in the endurance community. You were pretty much doing any sort of fitness that could be thrown at you. You could be doing high skill gymnastics. You were lifting pretty heavy weights. How did you change your mindset from doing a lot of those things to then, okay, like now I'm pregnant? Like, were you like looking at things and saying, okay, no more high skill gymnastics. I'm going to cut down my strength to 50% weights? Like, were you ever like looking at things like that? Or were you just kind of like going with the flow and just as things felt good, you kind of just dropped them off as you went further?
Uh, uh, that's a good question. I would say I just sort of listened to my body and dropped things off as we as we went. So if something didn't feel good, then I would just I modify. Um, but right away, one thing that I did just drop off was my heart rate and my exertion
Okay.
levels. So any sort of high intensity workout, the effort, the perceived exertion was, let's say, a 6, 7 out of 10, when usually that would be um, like an 8 or 10 out of 10 effort. So that was
Okay.
one of the big things in terms of scaling back, was that heart rate and intensity for sure.
Mm.
And then any sort of strength based movement was based on my body, and then any sort of abdominal separation or coning or anything that I saw, I would modify or scale those accordingly.
Okay.
But but with that said, I still kept my structure of my workouts throughout the week. So with LP, we do strength workouts and then we do conditioning workouts. And even if my conditioning workouts ended up being like a long, intense walk, that was sort of my conditioning workout. And I kept that structure going so that I made sure I got in my few strength days a week and then some conditioning, if we can call it. But at that time,
Yeah. Movement.
in the last little bit, that the walking did become
Hmm.
a workout.
That's cool.
Hmm.
And how did like how did your body feel? Obviously, that's a not a very great question. um, how did you notice your body feeling different in context of the workouts, or was it just blended in with obviously your body changes? And then my second question was like, how were you helping your body recover? Obviously, your intensity was low, so maybe the
Hmm.
workout strain wasn't as significant.
Yes, correct. So I didn't quite have to. The demand on my body was, it was almost like a relief because I wasn't doing as much intensity. I didn't
Hmm.
need. Uh, in some ways, my body felt better for a little bit of the time during that pregnancy, that sort of second trimester, where that volume and intensity was lower, and I wasn't getting sore as much, and joints were feeling pretty good. Um, yeah. I
Okay.
think I didn't answer your first question. You said,
I think you did answer my first question because I think I assume that your body was changing and your body was sore because of the body changes you were making, not because of fitness, because the volume was fairly low.
exactly. Yes.
And,
I
and I know you're
definitely wasn't getting sore from workouts.
and I know you're a big proponent of recovery mechanisms. Were you adding anything
Mhm.
in because of like just from the pregnancy perspective?
I was trying to keep up with my yoga, which was only once a week. Um, but I did lose that a little bit as my tummy got so big that I couldn't even bend over into certain
Mm-hmm.
positions. So I would say potentially that's an area of improvement, maybe a little bit for next time. Uh, Trying to find something that that worked well. But I did enjoy sort of my nature walks, and that was my way of um, bringing things down, relaxing, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying sort of the outdoors. That's where I did most of my recovery, I would say.
Cool. Um, and I'm not trying to get through this whole thing quickly, but one of the fun questions, obviously, nutrition leading up to delivery. Um, what was your nutrition like? How can you sum it up? Like, obviously, um,
Strict? No.
but I mean, you are a pretty clean eater. You're pretty
I
strict. You're
was,
pretty structured with food, but obviously, during that
yes,
time, it's very common not to be.
I was a first time pregnant person. So I think I had Sarah on text speed dial with every, like, everything. Can I have this? Can I have that? I was pretty cautious when it came to certain foods. And then I, eating clean was definitely a priority for me. I did obviously still have my treats. I would say in general the same sort of 80/20 principle
Mm-hmm.
that I have now was what I took into that. Um, Obviously no alcohol, and then I also cut out caffeine as well. So
Okay.
just for some added fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Okay. Um,
so in general, I didn't have to do.
yeah, pretty similar
I
then.
didn't have to make too many changes. Yeah,
Good for you. Very
yeah.
disciplined. No, like, no common craving patterns that you were tossed in there that were
Only in the
different.
first trimester. Luckily, that was short-lived, but I couldn't eat. I couldn't stomach greens. So like uh, eating vegetables, I couldn't eat vegetables, and I was freaking out because I'm like, if I have to go this whole pregnancy, like, how am I going to get nutrients to this baby? Like, I need to eat my vegetables, and I couldn't. I wanted, like, I remember stopping in the first little bit to get bagels, like a bag of bagels, and I wanted just fruit, like all the fruit. Like my mouth was so dry, I just needed to like get
Mm-hmm.
in like watermelon, and then all of a sudden trimester two, and it was like gone,
Hmm.
gone. I could eat anything. Luckily, the vegetables were back, thank goodness, and I was able to just uh, eat normally. So besides the first trimester, no serious cravings beyond my normal, ice cream and cake cravings that I
Gotcha.
always have.
Gotcha. Okay. Good. um, and then I also heard that you had like a full out like labor fueling plan for
Oh
the
yeah,
day of
yes,
the
yes, yes.
delivery. Like we're talking like endurance structured
Actually,
fueling
I pulled
plan
it
for the
up.
day.
Um,
Did Coach ADJ help you with this, or was
he
this
had
your
a
idea?
lot of, yeah, no. Well, I was looking into it and looking at, what would be beneficial. Like this could be a long day. Like how do I stay? Like, well, because we're so used to it, and especially with him doing like his endurance stuff now, like those are uh, long time domains. And it's like, okay, well, I could be in a long time domain too. Like, how do I stay fueled? So we had this whole plan with like a 200 cal per hour of what I needed to take. We had some bars in there. We had power balls. We had granola. We had our F2C. We had our glyco. So we had our
Oh
carb
my
drink.
gosh.
We had everything in there. Um, and then I get to the hospital, and after all of the fun stuff leading up to it, I'm in the hospital, and because there's some sort of 1% chance I'm going to have a C-section, I can't have any of this food.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's like we bring all
The
of this
plan's
stuff
out
and
the
they won't
window.
even, the plan's out the window. They won't let you. Adam is freaking he's telling Sarah, like, get her this food, like yelling at her. And we're like, we can't, we're not allowed. So, so I ended up having, I had beef broth. They let me have beef broth, so I had that in in the cooler. Um, Ice cubes and apple juice. The apple juice, what I was trying to get was my carbs in there. But yes, we had this whole plan laid out. We called it the labor fueling plan, 200 calories per hour, and we didn't get to use any of it, unfortunately.
Were
But we
you
were well prepared.
so prepared? Were you actually feeling at the time that you wanted to inhale all this? Like, because at the time, like I've also heard where people just don't want to see food during that time.
I could have
You
definitely
could have, yeah.
had some, at, even if it was the carb drink. Like I needed. It was a long day. It was a lot of exertion. Like I needed some. Felt like I
Yeah,
was going
you're
to
very
pass out
aware
at
of
some
your
point.
body.
So like,
So I guess, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I could have,
Okay.
especially early on. Like I was in there at starting at 9 a.m. and I couldn't. She wasn't born until 9 p.m. Like I could have had some food. So
I don't want to talk about
it's
all the
a.
details with the delivery
I know. Yeah,
itself,
we don't
but
need to.
how would you summarize that day or, that event?
Actually, I just did a post recently on Instagram talking about how it was like the hardest, I would say, physically and mentally hardest thing, sort of athletic event that I've ever had to do. Um, Laboring naturally with a induction, the pain was pretty intense, and the breathing and the mindset to get through that was something like I've never had to experience before. So it was hard. It was hard.
Okay. Okay.
We'll have to get Sarah to give you the full scoop on
Yeah, we should get a guest calling on the podcast.
I
It'd be
guess,
fun.
yeah.
Um, and then I was going to ask you, because we've talked about pelvic floor therapy on the podcast before. I should
Yes.
actually have
Yes, I
remembered
should.
the episode,
Mhm.
but go back and find it. Were you doing pelvic floor therapy ahead of?
Yes, good question. Carrie, a body in motion. That's who I saw for pelvic floor. We had a full plan from 12 weeks on, um, where she gets you all ready, make sure your floor is good. Um, and then at the end, what she does is try and make room for the baby and hopefully help you not to tear in the delivery. So I did a lot of work for that. Unfortunately, all that work was thrown out the drain in terms of that part of it because I ended up having an episiotomy, so I got cut anyways. But all part of the fun. You never know. Preparation. The preparation was there, and I did all of the other pelvic floor stuff that I needed to do, and core work with her as well.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. And then
So
would you
basically,
say,
she guided me through the whole pregnancy in terms of helping me with some of the exercises I shouldn't be do, and then building in that, trying to keep that core strength up when you can't do the usual exercises.
okay. And since we're on the topic, like how
Mhm.
have you since reintroduced some of that sort of work? Have you gone back to see them? Is that as important after as it is before?
Uh, yes, if not more,
Okay.
if not more,
It's been a
which
while
we can
since the
talk about
podcast, so
when we get to this. Yeah,
my
yes.
pelvic floor therapy
Um,
notes are not as up to
knowledge
date
is,
as they used to be. But anyways, okay, so
yeah.
you made it through the labor. Maddi is here.
Hmm.
Um, how and I knowing you, a person that loves to be active and loves to um, practice fitness. From were you mentally kind of struggling with not being able to do fitness, or how long did it take you to get back into doing something that you can classify as fitness, whether it's walking or something like that? Like, obviously she's there, things are new, things are busy, priority is her. Were you mentally struggling with not being able to kind of do the fitness stuff?
Um, I don't think I was mentally struggling in terms of what you might think. Like, it was, I didn't realize until this time period of how much fitness and being able to exercise affects your the mental side of and your mental clarity. um,
Okay.
I didn't realize it was an outlet for me for stress relief or anxiety or anything like that. Um, and during this time period, having that sort of taken away completely gave me a little bit more understanding as to how important my fitness is for that side of things, for sure.
Gotcha. So you did
Hmm.
notice it was gone. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I had a lot of well, there were a lot of different factors um, that kind of led me to having some anxiety, and fitness was just a way that I wasn't able to use in order to decrease that
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. And
Hmm.
did you feel like after, or even maybe before, like you're, like we said, you're very tuned with your body. Like, did you ever feel like, did your body feel foreign to you in a way? Like whether it was just before or just after, like as your body was changing,
Hmm.
did it ever feel sort of like this isn't me, or like what is happening? Like,
Every day,
okay.
every day postpartum. um, leading up to the labor delivery, I was 100% fine in terms of what everything was going on with my body. Um, Obviously, I had the scares every now and then of what's this, what's that. But all in all, I was okay with it. Um, Postpartum, I had some elevated blood pressure issues, which kind of in turn created a lot of anxiety about my overall health. Um,
Hmm.
there were, and there, so that first bit of postpartum, so much is happening. Your, uh, so much is going on with your breasts and the breast milk and all of that stuff coming in and happening, and then your your uterus is trying to go back to its normal size, and there's issues that are going on down there, and then you're uh, bleeding, and all of these things are um, happening all at once. And because I had this blood pressure issue, I did feel like at some points I didn't know what the heck was going on in my body. I felt like um, every little thing that came up. If I had a little pain in my chest, I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and like there
Hmm.
were little things that went on. I lied in bed at night, and my body felt like it was just shaking, um, and I couldn't even get to sleep because I thought something bad was going to happen. So it was. I honestly to this day I don't know if it was uh, the anxiety that caused the sort of blood pressure issue, or the blood pressure issue caused the anxiety. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely sort of wreaked havoc on my mental ability of feeling all of the feels in my body, and I didn't know what was what, and it caused a lot of anxious moments,
Mm.
definitely for throughout the first 3 months, and not really didn't fix itself until I would say at least 6 months in
Wow.
with those.
So I was going to
Yeah.
ask like how long that was happening. So like, obviously the what is like the recovery time for the basic stuff of recovery? Like, do they give you like a 6 week or like a 8 week thing? Like, what's the basic recovery before you can start?
6 weeks, they say, like, I even got that 6 weeks. Okay, you're good to go. Like, you can get a full all clear at the 6 week mark.
Mhm.
I mean, if you have certain issues, you do need to follow up with, like, I had to follow up with my doctor with my blood pressure stuff. But in terms of fitness,
Mhm.
if you weren't going to a pelvic floor physio, you can go nuts.
That's crazy, no? Like, did you at 6 weeks? What did you feel like you could
Gosh,
start?
Chad, I couldn't even, I could barely walk. Like,
Yeah.
I, yeah, no, at the 6 week mark, I still had so much pressure down there. Like, running wasn't even
Hmm.
a consideration. My episiotomy, the scar was still healing, um, and I was still actually getting some bleeding at this time, and then tack on hemorrhoids for that, and then a weak pelvic floor. Like, there's so much stuff that
Hmm.
needs to be sort of monitored, and at the 6 week mark, and don't get me wrong, every body is different, every
Of course.
labor and delivery is different, um, but I truly believe that at the 6 week mark there needs to be a lot more um,
Mm.
done for women, to make sure they're ready to return to activity.
Gotcha. So would you say up until the 6 week mark, you were pretty much just, basic stuff like walking was your sort of level of exercise for a little bit here and there. And then after that, you started.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, walking, I started, basically, I remember the first time going down the driveway and just around our court, and that was it. That's where I started at. I
Hmm.
couldn't even, that was it. Then the next day, or every other day, I went a street farther, and then a street farther. One day I went a street farther, it was too much, and I had to back off. So I kind of tried to increase a little bit at a time, but
Hmm.
definitely started very 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 short walk for my first one.
Was that frustrating for you?
Yes, I remember I had a panic call to my Carrie, my pelvic floor physio, and I'm like, I need to do something. Like, like I I did a virtual call because I was like, I need to get in to see her. Carrie, please help me. Like, what can I do at this point? At this point, I needed help with my anxiety. And I said, and she basically told me no,
Okay.
straight up
Okay.
no. If you are feeling all of these things, we went through the
Hmm.
checklist. No, sorry. So I'm very thankful for her. In hindsight, at the time, I probably wasn't
Sure. Yeah, you hated
so
her.
happy.
But like,
uh,
isn't like usually swimming is a good rehab for this. Like, when was swimming added?
yes. So I can't remember. It was probably, I think it was from that call that Carrie said, okay, you can potentially try and add in swimming. So
Okay.
that was, I actually, I don't know if it was that soon. But anyways, I started swimming, and that was fun in itself.
Was this
Honestly,
successful for you?
it became successful. The first time I got in that pool, my anxiety was through the roof. Uh, if you have anxiety and then put the anxiety underwater, you're trying to breathe underwater. Um, the anxiety got worse, and I just was, and you can feel everything more in your body. And I just had a lot of negative thoughts in terms of, once again, like the heart attack and those
Mm.
sorts of things in the pool. And then I could barely push off the wall. Felt like I had absolutely no core. Um, so basically, the first time I think I was in the pool like 15 or 20 minutes, and I had to get out. And but I did every week. That was sort of my weekly fitness goal, was to get in the pool, and we kind of built up from there. But it was a rough go for the first I would say month getting in that water every time.
You have such a heightened awareness of like you and yourself, and like just like how like do you think that uh was working against you at
Yeah.
that time?
I don't know. I want to say no. I think I don't know it. I really don't think it was like the feelings of my body. I think it was all what was happening um,
Mhm.
in my mind.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and that's something that I didn't have the ability to manage, or
Hmm.
yeah.
And so yeah, so like how long would you say, like, I guess my obvious question is, how did you overcome this anxiety? Because it sounds like it was a significant part of the initial sort of first few months. Like, how long did you move through this? And then what were the things that you did to overcome it? Or maybe you didn't overcome it yet.
Mhm. I would say 6 months was kind of the it did go hand in hand with my blood pressure and taking the blood pressure medication that was causing me um, a lot of anxiety.
Uh,
Um, but 6 months was, and I was expecting it. It was, I'm like, gosh, I'm doing the right things. Like, I'm taking all of the steps for this to get better. And then it was just being the same. And then I was getting more anxious because things weren't getting better. And um, luckily, I had some Carrie, my physio, plus I chatted a little bit with Jen, Dr. Jen, about it, and they kind of helped me through it a little bit. Um, Basically, saying that it's going to take a lot longer than than I anticipated,
mm,
um, and then Jen reassured me that I wasn't going to die when I when I thought I was. So 6 months is kind of how long it took to sort of get past the initial um, high, very high anxiety, and then I would say the next few months to sort of pull it pull it all sort of back together till I felt somewhat back to normal in terms of
and
mindset.
and would you say with like, did you feel like this was like the anxiety? Did you feel like it was like, was it scary because it felt like it wasn't you or you couldn't control it?
Yeah, it was very scary. Yeah, it was like I was a different person pretty much. That's
Mm,
what it felt like half the time.
gotcha.
Yeah,
I see. I mean,
yeah.
I'm no doctor, so like trying to come up with like good
Well,
questions to
there's so
ask you.
much, the postpartum hormones, and
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many factors. So many factors going on.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the
So,
anxiety was a tough part of that 6-month process.
and so then I guess returning back to things that you can control, knowing you, nutrition and
Hmm.
recovery in the first 3 months was probably a massive planned priority.
Yeah. Yeah. This one was I'm not going to say fun, but um, we prepped a lot of dinners beforehand so that we had them ready and available. Uh, thank goodness, because life was an absolute gong show, as Chad, with 2 kids. Uh, and we had some help from my mom and Adam's mom, sort of helping with some of our meals. We definitely, in terms of for the first 3 months, um, eating clean, or like our typical dinners were sort of thrown out, and we ate a lot more, I would say, hearty, um, lot of carbohydrate, potato based meals, and especially for lunch as well. It was just whatever we made sure that we ate. That was a key factor, but we didn't worry about sort of the types of food or anything. It was just making sure we were um, getting in some nutrition,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, for
Survival mode
me,
at that
it was
point.
survival mode. And for me, it was just getting in as many calories as I could,
Hmm.
um, including some snack plates overnight, which I kind of miss to this day. No.
What's the snack plate? What's on the snack plate?
So the snack plate had, all of the things. It had nuts, it had grapes, it had like I
Oh,
had little uh what else did it have? Granola on there. I had a bunch of different things. Whenever I fed Maddie, I would uh eat a bunch of things from my snack plate.
love
So
it.
not only was I eating throughout the day, I was just hammering back snacks throughout the night.
If she's feeling, you're feeling. I like it.
Exactly. I was so hungry, and it was my goal just to make sure I have enough breast milk for her. So I was eating as much as I could.
And you felt, and you were just saying you were so hungry, like you were pretty hungry the whole
Yeah,
time.
and I was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. I
cool.
wasn't forcing
Right.
myself to eat the food. That's for sure.
Okay.
Hmm. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Sounds like fun. I like a snack plate.
I know. Snack late at night.
Love it.
Gosh.
Um, and like in regards to like, so it sounds like you were getting enough salt with your snacks and other things. Like, were you like ever like dehydrated, or like were you like was there anything you were thinking
Well,
about like prioritizing other than just like getting food in?
water, 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 water. Especially because I had the hemorrhoids. I was
Mm,
trying to, as much as I could, keep my stool as soft as possible. Plus, with breastfeeding, um, water is important as well. So that was at night. It was the plate of snacks plus I had to finish a water bottle sort of throughout the night, and then I had my count of water bottles throughout the day.
gotcha. Cool.
So yeah, water was the other big one,
And then
and yeah, no caffeine
right,
still. So
right, right.
yeah,
Gotcha.
kept that
Um,
one off.
did you have any time for any recovery protocols that you did before?
Gosh, I wouldn't say did before, but this part of the process I did find overwhelming, and I totally understand why moms neglect this part, because you're forever doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to fit it all in, but there were a bunch of things. I started doing my pelvic floor exercises, uh, once I had once once I knew sort of what to do when. So that was part of what I had to do for my recovery, kind of right away. And then I tried to get as many sitz baths in as I could. I don't know how much in depth you want, but we needed I needed to do ice pads,
Mm-hmm.
kind of keeping that cream on certain areas, and definitely also my supplements, I would say. I was on as well. So I met with my naturopath postpartum, and then working with the blood pressure and all of that stuff, we made sure that we were on the right path in terms of supplements. So there were a lot of things on the agenda. I wouldn't say I got to them all, but I definitely tried to prioritize my recovery as much as I could. But yeah, it was hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think any first time parent would say like the first 3 months are usually just like it's survival mode. It's a blur. There's really nothing that you're doing other than trying to make sure that this new human is arriving safely.
Living. Yes. It's like I should have prepared so much more. Like you prepare
Only
for
you would say that.
the labor. You prepare for the labor for like that's only one day, and then here I have this newborn, and like thank goodness Sarah came home with me, because like if it was just Adam and me together, we would frig, I wouldn't know what the heck to do.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
luckily
the
I
support
had her
system
for the
comes in
first little
handy.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a pro. That definitely was helpful.
Yes, very
Shout out to
helpful.
Sarah.
Yeah. So the first minimum first 6 weeks was a bit of a blur, but I sort of had a routine of when I was trying to get those recovery things in.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it happened or not, that was
Gotcha.
But I did try it as much as I could.
So then moving from like the first 3 months, which is pretty much chaos, into like the next few months, like how are you feeling mentally? Like you're still dealing with some of the anxiety. It's still kind of, would you say those next few months you were starting to think like, okay, I'm going to get my fitness back, I'm going to start like actively doing this, or were you still sort of patiently structuring that for later?
It was like, okay, I'm in the 3 to 6 month. I should be like, just flying here, crushing life, and I wasn't.
Right. Some women jump pretty quickly back into like normal life.
Right. I've seen, and I've seen it, and I wasn't there mentally or physically. And that was that. I would say maybe almost the 3 to 6 months could have been almost harder than the 0 to 3, because the 0 to like the first 3 months, it's like it's supposed to be a gong show.
Right.
Like you said, it's survival mode, but then you get in a routine. Like Maddi was a pretty good sleeper, so she was sleeping well. Like I'm getting some good sleep, and yes, things were improving, but I guess I wanted to be 100%. And I was putting in a lot of effort, and I just wasn't there, and that was very frustrating. And that's why I felt like maybe I'm never gonna feel normal again, or the way I used to. So this was a tough time period.
Well, you're a competitive person and you have high expectations for yourself. I mean, you both do. So I mean, I'm not surprised that's how you felt. Right. But like you said before, like everyone's experience is unique to them. So it's like some people are gifted with, a quick bounce back, and then some are gifted with a little bit, or not gifted with a little bit longer journey.
Yeah. Just like our note we had of the labor fueling, we also had Michelle, postpartum, return to
Of course you
workout
did.
plan. And it was like, this is what you're doing in the first month. This is what you're doing in the next, and at 6 months. And
Out the window.
out the window, like it was goner. Like it didn't even line up at all.
Yeah.
So it's like you can plan, and I still use the concepts. I did the work. It was just not in the order or the timeline that I anticipated.
I mean, looking back on it, I mean, you're a grinder in life and in sport. So, I mean, you just had to have the same sort of approach. You just
Yes.
grinded through it.
You know, Chad, sometimes I just want, something to be
I know.
not a grind.
I know. I
Gosh.
get it. I get it. I get it.
But at 18 weeks, I did get the all clear from physio to resume normal activities. So that was a good day. It was
Okay.
we had a
And did you
little
feel like you needed that
cheer.
sort of did you feel like with your anxiety, did you feel like you needed that sort of official approval, more or less, quote unquote?
Yes, not even so much from anxiety. Sure, when it came to my fitness and what I felt in the gym, I did have like mental control over that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like the movement. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
I was able to like know and make good judgment on what I shouldn't be doing. Um, but it was more that I was able to get back to some of the things that I love doing. It had been a long time since I had um, done a group workout because I was pregnant and it was during COVID. So at the end of
Mm-hmm.
like a long time, I haven't done a group workout. So um, just being able to add those little things back in on top of the exercise was a game changer. The social was a nice boost in there.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Yeah, but yes, I wanted a third party to, because you can feel somewhat okay. I'm not an athlete who feels good every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people who there's always something that is nagging me, and I never feel 100%. So for me, going into a workout feeling 80% is normal day to day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want that to happen with my postpartum recovery. So sort of having that third party not only check externally but also internally, so I knew exactly where I was at, and
Okay.
I wanted to kind of do it the right way this time and not rush back on
Cool.
anything.
So how did things start for you? So like your first workout back in the group, it, it's sort of just new, and
It was
then
bad.
from
No.
there you progress. Like, how did you approach, again, going, knowing you had this plan, how did you approach it? Like, what were the things that you were going to do to kind of get yourself back into sort of a full
Yes.
group class?
So my plan was to fully come to the group workouts. For me, having the structure and the routine and the group environment motivates me a lot. So I know that. So I didn't want to have to do my core work at home, uh,
Mm-hmm.
mixing it in at certain time. I needed a plan and a schedule. So I definitely um, planned in my LP workouts so that I made sure I did them. Little external accountability, and then any sort of core work that we had. I had my own core work that we did. Um, any exercise that didn't feel right, or I was getting still any sort of issues with abdominal separation, I didn't do. And I started with body weight. And the first workout, I remember even just doing the warm up was a workout. Uh, just the warm up was a workout. So
Mhm.
that was fun. First day.
Were you
But
coaching before you started? 'Cause I mean, it's a pretty active job. So like, were you already started coaching as
I
well?
was.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, I was. There, I just wasn't able to demonstrate some of the exercises.
Yeah. I mean, but still, I mean, walking around on your feet, coaching classes, I imagine that would have prepped you a little bit as well.
Yep, yep,
And would
yep.
you say
It
that
was.
like this, you said you were, sorry, you were saying core exercises, you were kind of like modifying that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
It feels like that's the right approach, but I also feel like just fitness society doesn't necessarily make that. Um, like I feel like at 6 months, women are working out sort of full throttle. Like, is it something that is 6 months too
For
early for
sure.
most women?
I can't say that in terms of general. I
Hmm.
can't make any sort of generalizations. Um, like I mentioned before, every person, every labor, every delivery, every vaginal versus C-section, birth, there are so
Hmm.
many factors that everyone is so unique. So I can't really make that blanket statement. Um, but I did say it before in terms of there does need to be more support and guidance in terms of that return to exercise.
Hmm.
Whether someone is ready to go at 3 months or 6 months, um, they should know 100% that they're ready to go
Hmm. Hmm.
versus kind of leaving it up to chance.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so like you basically started. Did you feel like this was um, like you're brand new to this? Because it seemed like you were out of it for quite a while because of COVID, because of being obviously there's you know a lot of months stacked up. Did you feel like this was really foreign to you? And like it was like I haven't worked out. It's like the first time I'm working out ever.
Um, I wouldn't say it was foreign to me, but I would definitely say I was a beginner. And I, as much as I didn't enjoy this process, I do believe that being a beginner in things, it was good for me. Like
Mm.
uh, you get to understand what it's like to come back again, and what is the struggle like for some of our new members, and how do they feel, and um, there's just a lot more. There was a lot of empathy that came from my situation of being a beginner and starting from scratch, and I realized how challenging it can be to build that strength up and to learn the movements, and it was interesting that way, and um, I don't and won't take my fitness for granted
Well, I mean
anymore, so it's cool.
yeah, I know. I mean that's amazing that that's something that you like latched onto, because that's like yeah, like how often do people get that sort of experience to kind of
Hmm.
restart and really kind of, especially when you've been doing this for so long. Again, you're a high level athlete. You run a gym. You operate a gym. People are coming in and out of the door every day. And yeah, like you're over here, but you're getting people that are just starting. So like that's pretty cool that you're able to kind of have that experience and then now sort of I guess teach and coach and empathize with people that are going through it.
Empathize, yeah. Like toes to bar is a great example of an exercise that was one of my best exercises pre-pregnancy, and coming back, it's been a struggle with core strength, and now I I relate and I understand how it feels. I never had that experience before, so
Hmm.
it has been kind of neat to feel. to feel these things and truly understand that progression of exercise.
Cool. And I was going to ask you, did you like, how long did it take you to start feeling confident in the progress that you were making? Like, did you feel confident right away? Like, man, I'm going to hit this. I'm just riding a bike. I'm getting at it. Or like,
No.
how long did it feel for you to kind of build up that confidence?
Scary at first. Like I'd never been here before. I was nervous. Like if I push it, am I going to all of a sudden like ruin my core? So I was
Mm,
very cautious at first, and still being super cautious and maybe a bit too cautious.
mm,
And I had my last pelvic physio, and Carrie said to me something, something, something like, "Okay, it's time to push it and see what your body can do." And I was like, and it was like just a switch that I needed, that push to be like, "Okay, I'm ready." Like she is giving me that just confidence that I could sort of test the waters. Okay,
mhm.
we've done all we need to do. The body is ready. Okay, let's try it. So that was sort of right before I I did an online competition in sort of a scaled division, just to get my feet wet, and just to start. Actually, not just because at that particular time that was where I was at in terms of my fitness with the skills, so it was perfect. Um, but it was a way to push the intensity a little bit, and kind of gave me that kickstart back into um, progressing, I would say.
And being on the podium adds a little confidence too. Let's just say
Okay.
that. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
It's not a yes, yes.
A
Yeah, so
competition is
then
a
yes, that
competition.
gave me and I'm a competitive person, so
Mm-hmm.
it was a good push to yeah, see what I had.
That's great.
Hmm.
Um, I was going to ask, how long were the snack plates happening? Were they still happening at this point?
I don't know. No, 6 months. Well, no, I don't think so. I think they're still happening. No, they're not. Uh, Snack plates, I think as soon as Maddie was sleeping through the night and I wasn't breastfeeding in the middle of the night, snack plates unfortunately were gone. Um,
Okay. Okay.
they were gone at that 3 to 6 month, probably just at the start or midpoint start of that.
Okay.
Um, but the hearty meals, like yes, we were a little bit more structure. We had a little bit more. It wasn't so much of a just try and survive phase. So we were eating a little bit better, but I was eating, um, fueling sort of as much as I could in terms of the day, um, keeping myself satisfied for sure. It's
Okay. Gotcha. Um, okay. Let's, so then let's say, let's say where are we at here? Where are we at in the time? How
I
old is
guess I
Matt?
jumped into the 6 to 9,
No, that's
6 to
fine. We're
9
kind of
months
in the 6 to 9. I was
with
going to
my
say,
fitness.
no, that's cool. That's totally cool. But yeah, like, would you say sort of 9 months after, would you say you're
Yeah,
now 9 months after, like,
it was
where are you at?
it was like, honestly, I don't know what it is, but it was like 9 months hit, and it was just like something changed in my brain, and I felt tremendously better. My
Okay. Okay.
anxiety had decreased. Um, I felt confident in my body again, and uh, it was just like myself was sort of coming back.
So would you
Yeah,
say
it felt good.
it took you like 9 months to get, like, that was really
Hmm.
the length of time it took you?
It took me 9 months to fully sort of recover. And obviously, there's still things that I'm recovering from, but yes, 9 months
I
to
mean, yeah, I mean,
feeling like
you're
myself again.
you will always be a different person now, but
Mhm.
cool. And so like the anxiety's gone, fitness is getting back to what you're used to.
Mhm.
Is like the nutrition. I guess at this point, like, have you ever? I guess one of the common questions probably people are thinking like, did you ever think about like, I need to get my quote unquote body back? Like, did that thought process for women, like, did that ever come into play? Is it at all in your head now, or?
Uh, I did not. Um, the maybe the anxiety played a positive um, aspect to this one because all I was concerned about during the time was making sure that Madison had enough food and that I was making enough milk for her. So
Mm,
that that feeling that I had made me just want to eat um, eat for her, and it wasn't. I never really thought about um, compromising that.
I mean, the anxiety could have flipped on that too, though, right? Because it could have been like, I need to
For
eat so
sure,
much, but then it's like also like, oh, I can't because my body is not where it was. But you didn't set any
for
expectation
sure.
for yourself.
Uh, in terms of
The
like
body
when I
image.
tell you I have like the document of my comeback plan, uh, body image is not something that is it was on there. Um, until just recently, sort of that 9, 10, 10 month mark, I have placed a little bit more emphasis on nutrition and eating a little bit more um, macro based and performance based. Uh, I was waiting until Madison was eating solids, um, just in case it had any effect on my uh, milk supply. Um, so I've just recently started over the last 6 weeks, um, kind of that 9 month mark, thinking about nutrition and being a little bit more strict.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so 9 months kind of eating intuitively.
Okay, so it sounds like at this point, like you're back to like what most people listening that know you would say. This is like Michelle. That Michelle's ready to. She's jumping in the gym. She's conquering the day. She's looking to crush life. She's joining competition. She's got her nutrition. Like this is where you're at right now.
Yes, yes. It's
And,
still I like there's still a lot of improvements or I still have a lot of growth to happen in terms of getting back to where I was with fitness. Um, because I am still seeing, which is kind of fun, seeing like progress almost week by week still a little bit on certain things. So that's always fun to see, uh,
mm-hmm.
which you don't always get. Uh,
What's hard,
so
what have you found harder? Strength, like getting your strength back up, or more about like your endurance, your heart rate, the ability to kind of do a 40-minute, 20-minute workout? Like what's been harder for you?
surprisingly, the strength,
Okay.
even though usually aerobic conditioning stuff is usually harder for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the the strength is taking its time.
And would you say with the strength, like, are you, do you feel like you've lost a lot of strength, or it's just like it's slowly progressing? Like, are you looking at percentages, and like how are you trying to get like you're just saying progressing? Like, are you looking at percentages of what you're hitting to kind of get back to your, you know, your your previous?
Yeah. Um, in terms of strength, what I've been doing is I did do in that competition, we did do a little bit of sort of 1 rep maxes. So I did have an understanding of where I was at. So all of my current strength work is based off of that. And I'm staying at that percentage probably for a while. And then in terms of skills and all of that stuff, it's my goal was to add in a little bit more each week, and sort of have a steady incline of growth on all of the skills. But I did have one minor setback with my shoulder, where it was a Tuesday. One day, all of a sudden, there was chest to bars, and I did all of them. And the next day, I couldn't even move my arm. It was so bad. I've never actually felt like that before. I literally couldn't lift my arm. Got Kyle to the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a
High
slap in the
volume
face.
pull-ups, yeah.
Great reminder. Hey, you're not ready for high volume yet. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
need to, yes, you're feeling better, but there still needs to be a week over week increase of volume. You can't just go from, yes, I'm feeling good, to all of a sudden, bam, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yes, it was a setback, but it was also a good reminder of, okay, you still need to build up week by week. You're not at LP volume yet.
I mean, that's the common culprit, right? Is the high volume anything really. Like, it's like anybody that's joining a gym should really question. I mean, I think most coaches, and I would say LP does a good job too. Like, most CrossFit coaches, or most coaches in general, know this. Like, you can't just walk into a gym and do 30 or 40 pull-ups or 30 or 40 presses. Like, the volume is just like, that's where you get into trouble for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah, the volume and the scale. So if I did the same amount of pull-ups, I might have been fine. It was just the scale and the volume. So it's hard to say. But
even 40 body weight inverted rows, like off the street, that seems like a lot too. But yeah, you're right. You don't know. I mean, chest to bar, yes, for sure.
Yeah. It's a little bit more pull.
You should know better. You were baited by somebody or something.
Just myself, and I love the group, but once in a while, that's what's hard about coming back from injury or anything like this, is like it can suck you in, and it sucked me in that day, just because not because like Amy and I were side by side, but we were not, like, she's far from someone who wants to crush me in my workout, right? We're just doing it together. And yeah,
that's the hard
I wanted
part
to finish. The problem was I wanted to try and finish it in the time cap. So that's the issue.
I think it overall, I mean, you set challenges for yourself. You got to kind of have to toe the line, right? You create.
Exactly. I learned, it was a great reminder.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask, so strength, like, what would you say the difference is? Let's just take like a clean, like your max clean before to what you're doing now. Like, would you say, like, for your squat and your bench and your dead, like, would you say it's a significant difference of weight, or would you say you're getting pretty close?
No. Well, let's say a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I was at about 85%.
Okay.
Of my strength. So let's say today I would probably be clean.
So you're getting pretty close.
Yeah, 85 to 90%, I would say.
The only reason why I'm asking, because
that 10 to 15% still feels like a lot.
Of course.
Right now. But it doesn't sound like a lot.
I'm just trying to time when I can come and see the Annie Thorisdottir moment, when you come back stronger than before. So I'm just waiting for that.
I don't know.
That mom strength,
And I know, but it's like, what is the goal? I don't know. That's what,
Understood. And I mean, I'm biased, but like you were at the Bros and Dos competition this past week, like, you crushed it. Like, it didn't, I know some of the fans were saying you're nursing Maddi and then you're on the competition floor. It's pretty cool. I mean, that's such a cool, it must be, I don't know if you realize it now, maybe you'll look back on it when you're a little older, but like, it's pretty cool to have that experience that you can do those two things. Like,
It's funny that you say that because like I had to nurse when I did the bike of that half Ironman at Barrelman. I had to nurse her before and then right after, and at the time it was like a grind,
mhm,
and I was exhausted, and what was cool about Saturday was that I could actually like take it in. I remember going to the bathroom. So it's funny you bring this up. I was going to the bathroom. I was just sitting there, and I was like, you know what? This might be. Yeah, I don't know how many. How many more times I get to do this with her, and just enjoy it. Like take it in. This You might not be able to experience this ever again. So it was a kind of a cool moment um,
mhm.
to think about that and to actually be present for it, because I wasn't really present, or I didn't allow myself to enjoy it before.
Right. Right. No, it's amazing. I mean, and I completely forgot about your team relay. Like,
Hmm.
I think you've skipped over. I mean, you've done the half Ironman team relay. You've done a scaled CrossFit competition. You did another scaled online intermediate competition. Then you did an in-person CrossFit competition. You've been
Hmm.
pretty busy. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, for us,
Was
it's
that was that
I
part of
don't
the
know.
plan? Those four things.
I would say the intermediate one that I just did online, that wasn't, but I got free entry, so that was kind of um,
Sign me
I
up.
might as well sign me up, might as well do it. Um, so yeah, I would say yeah, they were all part of the plan.
Like, did I mean? I think I know the answer to this, but for everybody else, like you use those things to hold you accountable so that you could progress. Yes, like were those things built in
Yes,
for you so that
but
you could
also
get
tests,
outside the gym?
but also yeah, also some tests in terms to see exactly where I am and what I need
Cool.
to sort of focus on. Yeah, that's what I like about the CrossFit comps, and um, I was able to do the scaled and then the intermediate and then the in person with a partner. Like it's a nice way to sort of build up that fitness while having fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question, tough question to answer. Overall, like, do you feel this was more of a physical test versus a mental test? Like, can you pick one?
The whole 9 months.
This whole thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if you can summarize that, or maybe it's different. Maybe it ebbs and flows for you. I don't know.
Mm, physical. It's hard to say because for 6 months of the last 18 months was very, very, very mental,
Hmm.
but it could have stemmed from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it could have stemmed from the physical. Um, like I said, my pregnancy, I felt really good um, in terms of like my mindset and everything. So I'm gonna go with physical challenge. Final answer.
Okay. Good. Good. Um,
Um,
is there
is
is there anything else
is there anything
we
else
should talk about?
we should talk about? Um,
Is there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't cover? You want to share to the world?
I think so. I think we.
We wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Unless you have any other questions. I mean, a male asking a female questions on. I'm sure we could have gotten some female questions, but maybe another time.
Yeah. No, this has been great, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think many people will find it quite inspiring. And
Thank you for
it is inspiring. No.
Seriously, like to actually have a podcast.
I think it is interesting. I think I do find these stories interesting. I do think we need to share this stuff more. And so, like you said before, like there needs to be more support. Maybe this is a very little support we can provide, but
it is getting better. When we first started the gym, and when our members were having babies at that time, pelvic floor wasn't even a thought. So over the last little bit here, last 10 years, there has been a lot of progress with pelvic floor and postpartum support and help. I'm hoping that things are only going to get better. Moving forward, I think we just need to, we have that sort of pelvic floor help. Now we need to combine the pelvic floor personal training, fitness sort of aspect of it to have a full, well-rounded solution.
maybe that's where you come in.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I think the next step needs to be for women.
And it's a great idea.
To bridge that gap.
Agreed. Well, thank you very much. And thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.